Hello, hello. Welcome back. This is exciting. Honestly, the most exciting time for today is going to be day 200 of 301. But why it's significant is that I was hoping to complete the entirety of the free CodeCam curriculum on this day. Now, unfortunately, it seems that there's some kind of issues. You may notice that free CodeCam looks a little bit different. That's because they've been doing some updates. As such, it seems something broke with their API for the logging in and authentication part. So I don't know how this is going to play into us getting our certificate when we actually complete things, but I'm hoping we could just press through. Last night I kept like hammering away at one of the URLs and eventually I got in, so hopefully that can happen again so we can claim our certificates. But yeah, we actually need to complete this message board. I'm also kind of under a little bit of pressure. There's just under 2.5 hours for me to get this done in. Reason being is, unfortunately, there's going to be power cuts in my area. So, I mean, I can always stream later on as well if I don't get done. But we kind of want to get this done in 2.5 hours. So we have a deadline. Let's see if this actually works now. We don't have to be logged in. We can obviously still start building the project. But every so often, if I get a moment, I'm going to try like hammer away at this. But for now, let's continue. So what do we need to do? First things first, let me actually get the project structure up and running so that's working for us. So I'm going to just quickly go and set that up for us. We're going to call this one the Anon message board. And then we need to clone it from this repository. Let's go ahead and grab that and then save it in a non-message board. And we're just going to extract here and then get rid of that, as well as profile that, and that, and that. Cool, and then we also need the package.json, the ESLint, the prettier. Let's actually just check what they use in their package.json. It seems to be the standard as per every other project in this thing, so that's good. I'm going to remove that folder. I'm going to add a new folder. Yeah, there we go. Add that. Okay, we got the package.json in. Let's go ahead and update it. This is going to be FCC anon message board. Should we make it anonymous? I'm just thinking. Do I really want to shorten it? Let's just go ahead and close this. Cool. What else do we need to change here? I don't think we need to change anything, to be honest. We good. In tests. And also we need a clone, don't we? So let's edit. And then take this URL and add that in there. And then just remix that. Replacing obviously their data with ours. And then just go ahead and do this, call it DMN anonymous message board. It's a little lengthy, but it'll do. And then just replace that. Cool, cool. In the package.json, we need to replace all of that. We also need to start working on routes API. Oh, they haven't really given us much here, huh? Oh, we need to install. Open in terminal, npm install. What about all my dependencies and stuff? So I think a lot of this is going to be route based. There's going to be like some posting and stuff, but for the most part, is there even a front end for this? Oh, there's. Okay, cool. Very basic front end, but there's one at least. So now that we have ours up, we don't need this anymore, so let's go ahead and open this. So we don't need theirs, we have ours, or we could keep theirs just in case we need to like do a comparison. And I'm gonna reload this while that's busy. Cool. And this will be const expect required chai module.exports function app. Let us do it like this. App.root board app.root replies. So threads replies. Okay, those are the roots. Tests we worry about yet. Are there unit tests? Are there unit tests? Oh dear. Views. Damn. Okay, API, FCC testing. Anything else that we need to edit right now? What's in server? Can edit server. Convert all of these to an arrow function. I wish there was a shortcut for this. Convert. Is that convert? Think that's good. Expect, I don't know why expect is there for chai. I know we're gonna need helmet again as one of the requirements. So let's get helmet set up. App.use helmet. There's also something else. Let's look at the requirements. So first thing, only allow your site to be loading in an iframe on your own pages. Okay, let's go look at the helmet docs real quick for what they mean by that. Is it frame guard? Is it frame guard that I'm thinking of? It's probably frame guard. So probably X-frame options, same origin. Okay, so let us under, what are we busy with now? Server? Let's just go and test that. We should fail. Wait, what? Is that on by default? Where's the docs go? Oh, here. Is frame guard on by... Oh, it is included by default. Never mind. Okay, cool. That's good for us, I guess. Do not allow DNS prefetching. Oh, is that also on by default? DNS... Cool, thanks, Helmet. Only allow your site to send the referrer for your own page. Only allow your site. So I assume they mean referrer policy, right? So referrer policy, same origin, maybe? So app.use helmet referrer policy, same origin. Let's try that again. There you go. I can post a thread to a specific message board by passing form data, text, and delete password to API threads board. I can post a thread to a specific message board. Uh-huh. Saved will be ID, text created on, daytime, bumped, daytime, starts, same as created on, reported, delete password, and replies. Okay. So this is what we're gonna need to create right now. Okay, so we're gonna need... Shall we extract this out to like a model? So we create a new folder called models. And do we call it, what do we call it? Would it all be a thread? Let's do a new file, thread.js. And we're gonna need mongoose equal to require. No. Oh, we need a schema. Mongoose dot schema. Just want to have a look at stock price checker. Mm-hmm. And then we need to somehow connect in all of them. So we do need to connect to the database. I could probably have that outside of it. Wouldn't it be a controller that handles logic? But then, even though I know I didn't do this for the last two, might as well finish off properly. So if we have controllers, database connection .js, right? Would that be a... Should I call it database connection or just database? Probably get away with database, right? And then I want in here mongoose.connect, and then here I'll have these things. So we'll have database dot mongoose.connect, and then we need to also require all of the models, don't we? So this is gonna be models thread. That should be it. And then for thread, we need a new schema. Just modify this a bit. But essentially what it's gonna be is... This is gonna be thread schema, isn't it? This is thread. We can export this. So this would be module.export mongoose.model thread schema. Okay, so module.export mongoose.model thread schema, and then we need things like ID, which is by default, so text, which would be a string. It said, I assume text will be a string, and that will be set to required. Then it said created on, so created on, which is a type of date. Wait, doesn't Mongoose have... I remember this from the last time. Hold on. Mongoose has a built-in timestamp, doesn't it? Wasn't there one that we did last time? Timestamps for collections. No, wasn't that? Timestamps true. Created an updated prop that are timestamped with date and which does all the work for you. That's cool. So it's an object, timestamps, with created at being the name for created at one. Okay, so comma after a schema. Okay. So once you're done with your schema, then you just do this. So like so, timestamps, so then you would have created at, which would be what they wanted to be called, which is created on, and then you also would have had updated at, okay. Which is then bumped on, right? Bumped on. Okay, cool. So then, what else do we need? We've done that. Reported. So boolean. Reported. Type. Boolean. Required. No, but we could set a default, right? So by default it should be not reported. What else? Delete password. So delete password. Type string, I guess. Required. True. There you go. What else do we need? It said replies as an array. Can we just link thread then to replies on a thread? I think that would be so much easier. And then link them all. What else do we need to create? We need to create post. I could post a reply to a thread. Text, delete, and thread ID. That's a reply, right? In the threads replies array, will be saved ID text created on deleted. Delete password and reported. Okay. And this is in. That was reply, right? Yeah. So we need to create a new model for thread. Do we call it reply? Because the plural would be replies, but IES. Replies? Yeah, let's just call it reply. And this is what we need to do. So we do something similar to this, except now replies will be thread schema, reply schema, reply. Yeah, that's good. And then the reply schema needs, should we link it to the thread? It needs to know what thread, right? So thread will be, we could do what I did last time for my ACRDB project. Can we get object types from... Can I get object ID? What was object ID? Wait, object ID, right? From it's from schema, right? So it's schema.types. Then the type is going to be object ID. And then what else do we need? Type object ID. We need a reference to thread. What else? Set this to the index. Okay, so we have thread, we have text, we have reported, we have those, we have reported, we have delete passwords, we have everything. It's pretty much the same as the previous one, isn't it? Yeah, I would say it's pretty much the same. Reply schema. Okay, so in database we need models, thread, and then a reply goes into a thread. So there's that. What else? Is there another one? Do we need to create boards? Doesn't say anything about a board, does it? New thread to a board. Let's split it up by board as well. So we do board.js and then we do the same as this. We're actually not going to need that. This is going to be a board schema. And the board actually only needs its name of the board. There'll be a type of string. Required true. And we can index it, I guess, and that's all we need. We don't need a timestamp, we don't need anything. And then we want to import board. Cool. And now that I'm thinking of it, don't we have to link... Is replies linked to thread, but then shouldn't thread be linked to the board so we know which board it belongs to? So board type of... Wait, no, we have to define the reference same as we did here, so that becomes that, and then the type becomes object ID, and the reference is to board, required true, text track, okay, sure, really stop doing that, and then index, cool, and then, okay, so we have board, we have text, we have reported, we have delete. Okay, now we've basically split everything so that they linked with the board housing threads, housing replies. So board, thread, reply. And then we connect to the database. So that should be the basic connection. So let's get that under models. Let's create a new file, models. What's the first one we're doing? We're doing thread. Thread.js. There you go. And then the next one is reply. Models, reply.js. So the models are all replying. And then board. Models, board.js. The models are now board. In the controller, didn't I say I was going to have a controller? A database, right? Is this controllers? Yeah, controllers, database. Controllers, database.js. There we are. And then what we're going to need to do in server, we need to basically say, hey, what's up server? You need to connect to our database. So before we do anything, before we even define the app, we can do require controllers database. So now it connects to our database under server. Cool. We're gonna get some errors now, but that's to be expected. So now what needs to happen is, what is it called again? I need to get my database connection. Let's do the stock. Can get it from here quickly. Cool, so we should get connected now. And now that it's connected, what's the next step? The first thing we need to do is, I can post a thread to a specific message board by passing. Where are you passing this to? Or in fact, let's get the HTML for this. I think it's, what is that? That's index, right? So the first thing that we see here, oh, I'd love to fix this, this is bothering me. Find that, replace it with that. Let's go. There's 226 occurrences? Really? apparently it broke everything because we forgot to change this one. Wow. Who did this and thought it was a smart idea to have this all single quotes? See, for this I understand, JavaScript can have single quotes, but not HTML. Okay, what were the other issues that we had here? Unknown word, okay, that's not an issue. It posts to API threads test. Were we aware of that? Did we know that it was going to post to that? Yes. Okay, API threads test, right? So our roots. Apparently they add handlers, reply handler. Oh, but this is all going to be our logic now. So we want to create that somehow in our own way. Okay. This looks like routing, like we should be using a router instead. What is the best way to do this? Okay, let's do this. Is this API? Yes, it is. Require. So express.router, right? If I could spell router today. Oh god. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do here's app, right? So inside of it, let's try to rather have something neat because we need them for all the roots, right? So router.root. It's API, right? API threads board. So that's the root. And then post. When you post, when you post, that should be request res next, I think, right? Think. Are we doing it differently? Hold on. Let's see how we did it in our API. Yeah, it was request res next. Something like this. Something like that, right? Let's make sure it can do got here. So now when we load this up, it should say got here. Wait, I thought it would post to API threads test. It's already posting to API threads test. So what's the point of putting a board in? Weird. Okay, we don't. And that's the API. Collection.ensure index is deprecated. What did it say? Use? Create indexes instead. Okay. Use, create index, true. Why does this thing keep wanting to? Okay, there. That is for database. There you go. That should stop giving us that error. Shouldn't we get a console log for that? We're posting to API threads SD. Where am I posting to? API threads SD. That should be the. Is SD the board? Yeah, SD was the board. Is it router.root though? Router.root, and then you specify the root. Now the only thing is we already have module.exports app. So where does that come into play? Shouldn't I export router? I think that's what the issue here is. I think that's very well what the issue is. We need to export router. So it's router.root, right? And then module.exports the router itself. And in the server, we're gonna have to do they have routing? Yeah, they do. So we're exporting router here, right? So const API routes equal to require routes API, right? So instead of this being API routes, shouldn't this be app.use API routes? In server. And then in the API, we need to set. Now we don't need API. Now it's just straight up threads board. Gotcha. And we don't need API here either. Okay, so that's server and that's API. Oh, we don't have app anymore. So bad. Okay, let's see if this will now post. There we go. We got to the gotcha. Perfect. That's working. There's just one thing I'm wondering. Do I need it to have a / there? If I got the / in server. I do, yes. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, we got our first section covered. Great stuff. So when you post to threads board, let's get the board from request.params. Board. Oh. Board from request.params. What else does it have? We have text and delete password. So text and delete password from request.body. And now I want to log these. The board as board, and then the text as well as the delete message as delete password. Oh yeah, delete password. Cool. So now when we try to post, let's post to dogs. Be dogs. Best boys in the world. Password delete 123. Go. There you go. The board, dogs. The text, best boys in the world. Password 123. Good dogs. Okay, so now we need a... How did they do things? They had reply handlers. What were they trying to do? Reply list. Oh, so essentially it was just a wrapper for a function, a database function call. Okay, we need to create a board if it doesn't exist though. So we could do something similar to the personal library. We did something there. Okay, so let's create a new controller, I guess. And we're gonna call it board. Is that what they called theirs? They just called a handler? Yeah, so board handler.js. And inside it we need mongoose again. What are you complaining about? And then we need board from the models. Models? Board. Okay, so now that we have board, we could do... What do we call it? So essentially what we need to do is find if a board exists, and if it doesn't exist, create it. So what can we call it? Find by ID. So find... Is there anything for create? So it needs to either find or create it. So find... So this will be a find or create board. Should we? What would the logic be? You give it a name, and then you'd essentially call that, I assume. So you'd be like, hey, find or create this board. So find or create board. Okay, so that's going to be a function. So we just say board equal to the name and a callback. Because when you pass in the mongoose, you always have that secondary callback. So then we would do the actual board. Find, do we have an ID? No, we don't. So we need to find one, and we need to give it something, don't we? So we need to say, hey, the name is based off of that, because that's the name that we have in our database. What then? Then we need to handle the error. So error or the board, right? Can we do that? If error, we should just return the callback with the error. Otherwise, what are you complaining about? Board is defined but never used. Yeah, I'm working on that. If board return callback no error, same as passport, and then we tell it what board was found. What else? Otherwise, if the board doesn't exist, if board dot create the document, it's created by its name. So give it a name, pass the callback. Wait, the callback is inside of here. So error board this is essentially callback inside of this. If error return callback error, no, nothing was created. Shouldn't this be the created board in that case? Then we know we refer to it, because then we can return to the callback no errors and the created board. So then this should be the found board, shouldn't it? Or board. Found board? If board, if found board, if board found. No, I have it before. Otherwise we just return board.create. Wait, why can't I use name? Name is already declared. I'm not trying to declare it. Aren't we saying take it from the parameter? This is create error. If create error, return callback create error, right? And this will be find error. If find error, return callback find error. If found board, return callback null. Okay, now the only issue is why is this thinking we're declaring it again? Because it thinks we're destructuring. Hold on. This is supposed to be here. This is supposed to be the secondary. Yeah, there you go. If return. This is supposed to close that off. And then I think we're missing. Am I missing something? That's why. So board.find one, name, find error, found board. If find error, return callback find error. If found board, return callback null, found board. Return board.create, name, create error, create board. If create error, return callback create error, null. Otherwise return callback null, create board. So then you pass in find or create board, give it a name, give it a callback. And that we need to create in controllers. So controllers board handler.js. Let's go ahead and stick that in there. And then in the actual API, oh, I'm stressed for time right now, but we got this. In the actual API, we should be able to we need board handler. Controllers, board handler. Then what we need to do is call board handler. So board handler dot. Is it not going to show me what it's called? Really? Dot. Huh. Give it the name of the board, which is board. And then the callback, which we can have here. Name it error or... Oh, we can't call it board again. Because board is... So just call it found board. And then... if there's an error, if error, we should probably just call next with the error. Otherwise, after we created the board, we need to create the thread now to... we need a thread handler, which is going to be the same as board. And what does a thread handler need? Look at thread. It needs the board, so the name of the board. It needs to know what the text is. It needs to know what the deleted password is. And reported by default was set to false, so we don't set that at all. So let's create a new file called thread handler. Is it a thread? It is a thread on a board. It's not a reply. Okay. And then I think in thread handler we're gonna have thread. We might need board, but we need thread. So require models thread for sure. And then we need a create thread, which is going to be the same as this thread.create. We need to know what the name of this thread is. So should we call this create thread? And then we need to know what the thread... Can we call it a name? Do we just stick with name as well? And then the callback. And then essentially it's just thread.create the thread name, which is name, and are we creating a thread? Yeah, we are. So create error, created thread, I guess. If create error, return callback create error null. Otherwise, return the callback with no error and the created thread, right? And then we do module.exports equal to then we create that and we specify create thread like that. And then we should be able to, so that's in thread handler. Okay, so in thread handler, controllers, they already have it, but we're not going to use theirs, we're going to do our own thing. So we have thread handler right there for create thread. Okay. I'm just trying to think what's next. We need to destructure it now when we call it. So back to our API. When we create the board, after we've created the board, we need to create the thread. So then we need to do thread handler equal to require controllers thread handler, right? So then we need to do a thread handler dot, oh, now it shows create thread because it's an export, right? Wait, create thread. I wonder if that will work that way. We'll have to see. Thread handler dot create thread. Then we need to specify, what does it expect? It expects the name. So which is an object. So that means we need to pass in what we expect it to be. So the thread is the board, right? So that it's linked to. So board, the board that we found. If error, it'll call next error. So that'll be the found board, no? Is that right? And then we need to also give it the text, which we already have, as well as the delete password, which we already have. So there's that, and then we need the callback again. So error created, was there found board? Yes, so this will be created thread, right? And then if error again, call next with the error. Otherwise, what's the logic afterwards? If created thread, they wanted us to redirect, didn't they? Res.redirect to board page, board. Okay, so if the thread was created successfully, res.redirect a status defaulting to 302, 301 that are moved, right? So 301 to where? B board. Okay, so B found board is the object that's returned from the database and name is on it. So foundboard.name otherwise return next. We basically need to say the board was not found. So let's for now do res.send for board not found. Is it board not found when we're posting thread? Like a 500 error. I don't know. There's just an error here. That's all I know. We have to figure out which. But that should be the basic now for creating the board. If I didn't miss something in all these steps. Jesus. Found board is not defined. It's not. Oh, this is supposed to be part of it, isn't it? Oopsie. Found board, sorry. There you go. There we are. I have no idea if this is gonna work. But let me go to the database so long. We want to test dogs. Who is the best boy? 1, 2, 3. Submit. Okay. Find or create board is not a function. Find, so board handler dot find or create board is not a function. Why? I made it a constant, but I'm not exporting it. My bad. Module dot exports equal to find. Okay, no wonder it couldn't freaking list the thing under API when I was trying to do find or create board. That makes sense now. I just don't know if I could destruct if I can export it like this. But I guess we'll find out now, right? So board is dogs. Who is the best boy? 1, 2, 3. Go. Okay. Getting somewhere now. Throw error. Error. Wait, throw error? ER? Unhandled error event. Cannot set headers after they are sent to the client. Where did we get an error? Is it because of next? Events.js, but that's not even part of our code. Okay, let's check on the actual database. Did it create something? Apparently it did, yes. We have threads. We have one thread. We have 0 replies, 2 indexes, and we have 1 board. That's actually exciting. So threads. There we go, we do. Text, who is the best boy? Delete password 123. Created on, bumped on. Okay. Reported false. And we can see what the board is. 23A. And let's check if the board is correct. There you go, 23A. Name dogs. And replies. Okay, so it works, but for some reason we get an error. And that's melting my face a bit. Because it created it. Which is strange. Unhandled error event. Like, and the worst thing is it doesn't tell us, it's like nothing to do with our errors. Process next. It has to be next. Because all I see is process next, tick callback. So I think we didn't, when we're calling the callback, okay, so under here, we call if created thread, res.redirect, right? So it's none of these errors. Wait, did it redirect? It didn't redirect. I think that's, so it doesn't get here. So let's do this. Create thread error. Error. Created thread. Created thread, right? And then what I want to know is same as this. Create board error. Error. Created board is found board, right? Okay, so let's try this again. Maybe with some logging we can see something. Let's try again. Cats. They like milk. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so create board error is null. Created board, there's a created board. Create thread error is null. Wait, create thread error, but then what happened to... Oh, E created thread, not created thread. My bad. Does it actually create the thread? No, I don't know. Now, why is it not res.redirecting? Got here. Should have redirected. Let's try that. Mice. Eat cheese. 1, 2, 3. Gonna run out of pet names. Okay, so let's see. Errors. Created board mice. Created thread. There it is. See that? Eat cheese, delete password, blah blah. Got here, should have redirected. Okay, so we know that it gets there. It should have redirected, but it didn't. Why? You know, I just realized. We're not returning from this. It's gonna res that redirect, but I don't think it's gonna stop execution and it's gonna try to get down there, isn't it? That could potentially be it. I really hope it's that. It's the only thing I can think of that also has necks. Pigeons. I give up. 1, 2, 3. Yes! I was right. We just needed a return. Welcome to bee pigeons. Submit a new thread. Can we create threads? Can we? Hold on. Do I have that functionality yet? Threads board. I should be able to. So basically it's going to check if the board exists, and then it's going to create a thread. Oh no, we need to create a reply, not a thread. Right? I'm so confused. How does this work? Let's test it. I want to post password to delete 1, 2, 3. I don't think it's going to do anything. No, apparently it will. Wait, so that's a thread. Welcome to bee pigeons, but then where's the rest of the stuff? Oh, we need a get, don't we? Let me guess. There's some kind of code here that's just waiting to load the data, but it can't load the data because... Yeah, there you go. That's why. Okay, so when we sort the get request, it's probably going to pull a list of boards here. We just can't see them right now. But at least now we can create boards. That's great. Des, hey, how you doing? I think before we get to posting a reply, we need a get, right? Because I want to actually see what we're doing right now. And right now we can't really see. So, where do we go? Is there boards? Like B? Can I go /B? Is that supposed to be a path? Maybe? I want to start with get. I think we need a get root. What's the time in your area? It is 5 minutes to 5 in the afternoon. I'm stressing because I've got an hour and 5 minutes to continue this. I honestly don't know if we'll get done in time. But let's try. Okay, because this is super complex. Okay, so we got .post, right? So after that, we need to add a .get. Yeah, get. Request response next. Okay, now when you get threads board, you want to get the board. So we get the same as this, which is going to look like that. And we need something in a thread, in our thread handler. We have create thread. We need a way to get threads. So const get thread equal to, we probably need a name, don't we? But threads are on board, so technically we need to get them from a board, and then we need to pass a callback. Great. This is gonna get complex. Wait. I've started my own channel? Really? Nice. What are you doing it? Doing coding in it on React.js, and how are you finding that? So we probably need to do board dot find, do find one. The name is of the board that's passed in. Then we need a callback, don't we? find error. Can we do found threads? Something like this. Let's do log found threads. Found threads. Let's do something like that. So board.find1 name of the board. Wait, but after we found the board, that's not going to be the threads. That's going to be what's under it, and we have to access the. Oh my god. Okay, fine. Create thread. Get threads. I think, because plural, right? We're going to get multiple threads. Okay, so that's going to be in the thread handler, and then in the API, when you're trying to access it, you need to essentially do the thread handler dot get threads. It is expecting you to pass in the board, and we need a callback, so error, but we're not gonna have found any threads yet, so for now we're just gonna see same as before, right? If error, return, or we just go next. Otherwise we want to log I want to know what this is. Find threads, error, found threads. If error, next error, otherwise, yeah, no, nothing. Let's just do that. And I think we should return next. I don't think we just call next. I can't remember if you need to do that. So wherever we have next, let's rather start returning them. Because I don't think next breaks out. And I'd rather be safe than sorry. Okay, there we go. API, go. So now that's if we want to get. Okay, so we posted in dogs, right? B dogs. So let's see what happens. Found threads, no. At all? Nothing? Really? Did it even get to the freaking handler? Let me put handler here so we can see which one it's actually hitting. Okay, so there's the handler. Okay, so it's not finding any. Interesting. But if the board, hold on, what's the board? The board. API. We need to know where the board is. The board. Make sure that it's dogs. So B dogs. The board. Oh, the board is dog. What happened to the S? If I put. What the hell? Why is it dog? And then I do dogs 1, 2, 3. It's dogs 1, 2. What? How? How's it splitting? Oh, I think I know what's happening. Because I don't have a forward slash there. So it's treating it as... Okay, I don't know if that's a glitch or something for the API route, but it's expecting a /, that's why. Hold on. Can I fix that in server? Shouldn't this fix it? Server, where you server? Server, there you go. Let's try this now. B dogs. No, still dog. Still dog. The fuck? So it's not that interesting. So you need the /, otherwise... Oh, I just realized something. What if I add that there? B dogs. Dog. Still dog. Ah. Okay, not a problem. I'll figure that out some other time, but for now we basically need a / there. And if I do dogs, there you go. Found threads handler. Okay, but that's not what we want. Because... we need to find every thread we need to basically find every thread What are the requirements? How many do we have to return? Get an array of the most recent 10 bump threads on the board with only the most recent 3 replies from API threads board. The reported and deleted password field will not be sent. That's threads on a board. Okay. But why aren't we seeing anything? If it is dogs... What are we searching on? Thread handler. We're saying board, find one, find the dogs. But we also need to somehow have them linked, don't we? See what the board looks like. There's dogs. So there is dogs. And they were supposed to be linked. Which is the confusing part now. What if 23A, right? 23A is the object ID. And every thread has the board. Weren't they supposed to be linked by board? They were supposed to be, but they don't seem to be. Unless I'm missing something. The name is on the board, so I'm just trying to figure out this logic. So look at the boards. And then find the threads. It's part of populate. So is this thread? Let's try this. I want to see something. Let's try this. Thread, right? Thread dot find, and then the author. Sorry, not author. What am I saying? The what do you call it? Name. Was it name or board? No, it was board. The board needs to equal the object ID. But how do we get the object ID? Because if we can somehow get that, How did we get the object ID when we created it? References board. We're not going to know what the board is, that's the thing. It's an object ID. So how do we... This is the thing that I struggled with last time. So unless I manually put the board in. Is it sound of door opening somewhere near you? I don't think so. Wonder if I can do board. Or is it name? Wait. Board has name, right? And it's linked to it. So thread has board, which is linked to board. And the thread scheme so if it's board and board has name, then shouldn't it technically mean that we do find board? Maybe this. Error threads, if error. If there's an error, log found error, error. Otherwise, found threads. Threads. Let's try this. I'm curious to see what this will do now. And this is under thread handler, if I'm not mistaken here. Okay, so now we should be able to go to b dogs. Cast object ID failed for value dogs at pass board for model thread. Okay, so it is chaining them. Interesting, it just can't cast dogs to an object ID. Cast to object ID failed for value dogs at path board for model thread. Let's try name board. I'm curious. B dogs. Found threads. Nothing. No dogs.
And yet the only thing that's on there is board. And we need to somehow cast it to an object ID. Because this needs to be board, right? But now the problem is board is not an object ID. So you basically have to first find the board. We're going to have to turn this into an async function, aren't we? Board.find one. It's like complicated, huh? Found board. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so unhandled promise must be an object. There. I just want to get the ID back from it. The board is dogs. Found board is null. Is it not called dogs? Pretty sure we have a board called dogs. Oh, it's based on name, that's why. So, name of the board. So this is going to be an extreme workaround, but hopefully I can get this. There you go. So there's the ID, right? And then under threads, it's linked to board. So call it board ID equal to board ID equal to found board dot ID. Found board ID. Board ID. Board ID. Cool. Let's try this out. So if I did this right, we should now get the board's ID. There we go. And now that we have the board's ID, we can pass it in there to hopefully find the threads that belong to that. Oh, but we need to specify now the board is based on board ID. I think it's board, right? Yeah, board. There you go, finally, found threads. Jesus, that took long enough. And let's create another one. So now if I create 2 threads, we should have 2 of them. 1, 2. There you go. Okay, so that works. It's not quite the way that it should be, I'm pretty sure. Because there should have been a way where you can literally just search by linking them somehow, but and then otherwise return callback, no, found threads. There you go. Okay, so that should give us what we need. Get threads, board callback. Found board equal to await board.find one, name board. Board ID is foundboard.id. Probably wrap this in a try catch, shouldn't we? Try. Catch. And if there's an error, I want to return with the callback and the error. And then once we have that thread.find a board, so find any threads whose board match the board ID. And if there are any found threads, return them. Cool. There you go. Boom, boom. 2 of them. Great. Now that we have that, wait, if I do execute here, right? Can I do this? If found board found thread equal to await thread.find board found board Let's try something quick. Oh, I actually found something. So in that case, if the board is found, it wanted to sort it by bumped on, limit 10, and then execute that. Why does it only find the one though? Submit another one? Is it only going to show the latest? It looks like it. It only shows the latest one. Now why would that be? Oh, because I did board.find one. And it's supposed to be thread.find. My bad. No wonder it's only returning one. Now I figured out how to do it without the IDs. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thread.find, board. Okay, cool. So what needs to be returned exactly? The requirement is? I could get an array of the most recent 10 bump threads on the board with only the most recent 3 replies from API thread board. The reported and deleted passwords fields will not be sent. I could get an array of the most recent 10, so 10 threads with only 3 replies for each. I don't think we even have replies yet. So we sorted it by bumped on. Limit them of 10. So those are the found threads, up to 10 of them. So we want to return so we can map through them, right? Found threads dot map thread thread dot what exists on that object? It's just the text. Okay, let's try that out. I'm the thread truly a goodest boy, I'm the best boy who is the best boy. Okay, cool. Now we know what we have. Be right back. Okay. I can get an array of the most recent 10 bumped threads on the board, with only the most recent 3 replies from API threads. So I'm going to have to limit those on the threads, but for now let's get the boards. So those are the... Sorry, I got the board, I mean the threads. We'll get 10 threads, 3 replies afterwards. So I guess threads have to have replies under each one, right? The reported and delete passwords fields will not be sent. So technically the only thing that will be sent is literally just so literally return found threads.map thread.text. If those are found threads, then what do I call these? Threads? And store inside the if, we return callback, no errors, with the threads. Otherwise, just return the callback. Do we need to return the callback? Don't think so. Just catch any errors and return a callback with an error. So get threads in the API. So that's a thread handler. So get threads. Let's see how that works now. There you go, there's the found threads. And we need to see if we can quickly work on getting a reply. To get a reply, I can post a reply to a thread on a specific board by passing form data, text, delete password, and thread ID to API. Okay, so new reply, API replies board. Okay, so to get that working, we need... So that's for threads board, right? The next one is replies board. get another router.root. This will be a replies to the specific board. To the board. That's the board. Text delete password and thread ID from the body. And then if we have board handler, so we have create thread, so we need to then create reply, I guess. So we need a reply handler.js, which is going to be the same as a thread handler, except that we're going to have reply equal to require models reply. And this will be create reply. So then we need a thread. Based on the ID. Is there find by ID and update? There is. So this should be data, so then const, what will be inside of there? The three objects, right? So text, delete password that we pass on, as well as thread underscore ID from data. Then what we need to do is find by ID, thread ID, the secondary option would be to have bumped on be updated. I think that should be it. Create reply, and then just create reply, like so. So there's create reply, text, delete, password, thread ID. And then what we need to do is if oh, this is found thread, by the way, because we're trying to find it. If found thread reply.create the reply with the thread being the found thread, the text and the delete password, right? And then let there be an error and a created, this is created reply. If error, return the callback with the error and no, nothing was found. Otherwise, return the callback with no error and the created reply. Otherwise, just return callback. There you go. You happy now? So that's in reply handler. And then our API has to call that, which is, I don't have reply handler, do I? Reply handler equal to require. And then under replies, I do create the reply. We need to pass in an object, which is the board, the text, the delete password, and the thread ID that we can destructure. And then created reply, created reply error. If error, return next error. If created reply, and when you create a reply, is it supposed to redirect? Okay, we do get a... So it should be recommended res.redirect b board, which is just board, thread underscore ID. Okay, so that should be all that it needs to do. Otherwise, res.send 500. We'll figure that out afterwards. Okay, so that should be in the API. And that should create a reply. So reply dogs thread ID. Do we know what the thread ID is? I guess we have to find it, right? B dogs. So the thread ID would be for truly a goodest boy. That's the ID, I assume. So the reply, new reply post, the board for dogs, thread ID. I have to agree fully. 1, 2, 3. See if that errors out. Oh, we got an error. Okay, so let's see what happened. It created a reply. Thread. That's the thread. Text. I have to agree fully. Delete password 1, 2, 3. Got here. We had this issue before. That was for a redirect. But we didn't even get to should have redirected. We just got to got here. Which is that. Create reply error, no, created reply. Okay, let's check the database real quick. What do we have? Let's check replies. There should be only one reply. There it is. The thread 811. Let's see if it does belong to 811. It does belong to 811, perfect. Oh, that's great. We just have to figure out why it's erroring out now. So the last thing it got to was got here. And then it didn't redirect for some reason. Return res.redirect 301 b board, which would have been dogs / thread ID. In fact, we should be able to do that ourselves by going b dogs and the thread ID, right? I mean b dogs thread ID, there it is. So that would have been the thread ID. The content still needs to come, but that would have been the page. But for some reason we get an error. Wait, is it possible it's because of we have a post and we have a get? Is that it? Is that why? I think that might be it. It might be the get that's getting triggered afterwards. In all honesty. Let's just see if that's true. So let's send another reply to dogs thread ID. I agree as well. Submit. So it posted something, did you see that? Okay, so the only thing I could think of that's doing that is that callback. If found thread, return callback. It shouldn't be that though. So create reply. If it finds a thread, it creates a reply. If there's an error, it returns a callback. Otherwise, it returns a callback with no created reply. The callback is done in API. Reply handler create reply. There's the callback. If there was an error, we would get it there. Otherwise, there's the created reply. And if there's a created reply, where does it redirect us? Where does it try? Res.redirect 301 to b board thread ID. Could it be this that's triggering us? There's definitely something that's triggering. Oh, look, that was the message. Did you see that? Let's new reply. See what happens. There you go. It redirected. Okay, so the issue here was the fact that somehow if created reply, which it was, it should have returned. And this was still triggering. res.send. I don't know how, but it was. But there we are. Let's see if this works now. Yep, it works. I can get an array of the most recent 10 bump threads on the board with only the most recent 3 replies. We haven't done that yet. Let's see if this will work. Uh oh, we got undefined here. So there's the board, but there's no thread. So how did it manage to do that? There's the FCC testing thread. We'll have to come back to that, I guess. But otherwise I'm gonna have to end things off for now because my power's about to go off, but hopefully I'll be back to continue this. I think we got the bulk of it. I really feel we're at least halfway, because we can... The deleting stuff should be easy. It honestly should be. The hardest part was creating the threads. Creating a board if it doesn't exist. Creating a thread on a board, and then creating a reply on a thread on a board. And all of that is linked using... using the object ID as a reference, which is really great. Threads are linked to boards, replies are linked to threads. So it's definitely there, the logic is there, I just need to figure out what happened with the redirects here. But aside from that, I'm happy with it. I mean, yeah, definitely quite complex, but we're managing, we're getting there. So I'll continue and see you guys on the next one, which should be in about 2.5 hours. Until then, bye for now.